हेलो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, कैसे हैं आप लोग। उम्मीद करती हूँ आप सब अच्छे होंगे। थिंक लाइक अ मॉन्क, द माइंड, रिटन बाय जय शेट्टी। The Bhagavad Gita states, "For him who has conquered the mind is the best of friends. But for one who has failed to do so, his very mind will be the greatest enemy." The word enemy may seem too strong to describe the voice of dissent in your head, but the definition rings true. An enemy, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, is a person who is actively opposed or hostile to someone or something, and a thing that harms or weakens something. Sometimes our own minds work against us. They convince us to do something, then make us feel guilty or bad about it, often because it's gone against our values or morals. A pair of researchers from Princeton University and the University of Waterloo have shown that the weight of a bad decision isn't just metaphorical. They asked study participants to remember a time they had done something unethical, then asked them to rate their perception of their body weight. People who did been asked to recall an unethical action said they felt physically heavier than those who did been asked to recall a neutral memory. Other times we want to focus on something, a project at work, an artistic endeavor, a home repair, a new hobby, and our minds just won't let us get around to it. When we procrastinate, there is a conflict between that what researchers called our should self, or what we feel we should do because it's good for us, and our want self, what we actually want to do in a moment. I know I should get started on that business proposal, but I want to watch the US Open quarterfinals. Before I become a monk, my own mind stopped me for doing what I loved because it is too risky. It allowed me to consume a chocolate bar and a liter of soda daily, even though I wanted to be healthy. It made me compare myself to other people instead of concentrating on my own growth. I blocked myself from reaching out to people I had hurt because I did not want to appear weaker. I allowed myself to be angry at people I loved because I cared more about being right than being kind. In the introduction of his translation of the Dhammapada, Eknath Iswaram writes that in our everyday trail of thoughts, we have no more idea of what life is really like than a chicken has before it hatches. Excitement and depression, fortune and misfortune, pleasure and pain are storms in a tiny private shell bound realm which we take to be the whole of existence. It makes sense then that when the Buddha finally reached the realm utterly beyond the reach of thought, he described it feeling like a chick breaking out of his shell. As the ashram, I learned something that has been crucial in curbing these dangerous self-destructive thoughts. Our thoughts are like clouds passing by. The self, like the sun, is always there. We are not our minds. The parent and the child. As my teachers explained, visualizing the mind as a separate entity helps us on our relationship with it. We can think of the interaction as making a friend or negotiating peace with an enemy. As in my interaction, the quality of our communication with the mind is based on the history of our relationship with it. Are we hot-headed, combatants, or stubborn and unwilling to engage? Do we have the same arguments over and over again, or do we listen and compromise? Most of us don't know the history of this internal relationship because we are never taken the time to reflect on it. The monkey mind is a child and the monk mind is an adult. Our mind carries when it doesn't get what it wants, ignoring what it already has. A child struggles to appreciate real value. It will happily trade a stock certificate for some candy. When something challenges us in some way, the childlike mind reacts immediately. Maybe you feel insulted and make a sore face, or you start defending yourself. A conditioned automatic reaction like this is ideal. If someone pulls out a knife, you feel scared and you bolt, but it's not ideal. If we are being emotionally defensive because someone has said something we don't want to hear, we don't want to be controlled by automatic reactions in every case, nor we do want to eliminate the child mind altogether. The child mind enables us to be spontaneous, creative, and dynamic, all invaluable qualities. But when it rules us, it can be our downfall. It can be our downfall. The impulsive, desire driven child mind is tempered by the judicious, fragmented adult mind, which says that's not good for you or wait until later. The adult mind reminds us to pause and assess the bigger picture, taking time to weigh the default reaction, decide if it's appropriate, and propose propose other options. The intelligent parent knows what the child needs versus what it wants, and can decide what is better for it in the long term. Framing inner conflict this way, parent and child suggests that when the childlike mind is fully in control, is because our monk mind has not been developed, strengthened, or heard. The child gets frustrated, throws tantrums, and we quickly give into it. Then we get mad at our so why I am doing this? What is wrong with me? The parent is the smarter voice. If a well trained, if it has a self-controlled reasoning power and is a debating champ, but it can only use the strength that we give it. Is weaker than when tired, hungry, or ignored. When the parent isn't supervising, the child climbs on the counter near the hot stove to get to the cookie jar, and trouble follows. On the other hand, if the parent is too controlling, the child gets bitter, resentful, and risks averse. As with all parent-child relationships, striking the right balance in an ongoing challenge. This then in the first step of understanding our minds is simply becoming aware of the different voices inside us. Starting to differentiate what you are hearing will immediately help you make better decisions. Drive the chariot of the mind. When you begin to sort out the multiple choices in your head, the level of conflict may surprise you. It doesn't make sense. Our minds should work in our own best interest. Our minds should work in our own best interest. Why should we stand in our own way? The complication is that we are being input from different sources. Our five senses telling us what appeals in the moment, our memories recalling what we have experienced in the past, and our intellects synthesizing and evaluating the best choice for the long term. Beyond the parent-child model, the monk teachings have another analogy for the competing voices in our heads. In the Upanishads, the working of the mind is compared to a chariot being driven by 5 horses. Chariot, 5 horses. The horses are the horses. In this analogy, the chariot is the body, the horses are the 5 senses, the reins are the mind, and the charioteer is the intellect. Sure, this description of the mind is more complicated, but bear with me. In the untrained state, the charioteer, the intellect, is asleep on the job to the horse. So the horses, the senses, have control for the reins. Mind and let the body wherever they please. Horses left to their own devices react to what's around them. They see a tasty looking shrub, they bend to eat it. Something startles them, they spook. In the same way, our senses are activated in the moment by food, money, sex, power, influence, etc. If the horses are in control, the chariot veers off the road in the direction of temporary pleasure and instant gratification. In the trained state, the charioteer, the intellect, is awake, aware, and attentive, not allowing the horses to lead the way. The charioteer uses the reins of the mind so to carefully steer the chariot along the correct route. Master the senses. Think about those 5 unruly horses harnessed to the chariot of a lazy driver, snorting and tossing their heads impatiently. Remembering that they represent the 5 senses, always our first point of contact with the external. The senses are responsible for our desires and attachments, and they pull us in the direction of impulsivity, passion, and pleasure, destabilizing the mind. So monks calm the senses in order to calm the mind. As Pema Chodron says, you are the sky, everything else is just the weather. Shaolin monks are a wonderful example of how we can train our minds to subdue the scenes. Note, I never lived or trained as a Shaolin monk, although I might want to try. The Shaolin temple in China dates back more than 1500 years, and Shaolin monks regularly demonstrate the impossible. They balance on the blade of a sword, break breaks with their heads, and lie on beds of nails and blades without apparent effort or injury. It seems like magic, but the Shaolin monks actually push their limits through rigorous physical and mental regimes. Children may begin study at the Shaolin monastery as early as age 3. They spend long days in training and meditation through breathing techniques and Qigong, an ancient healing technique. The monks develop the ability to accomplish superhuman feats of strength and to endure uncomfortable situations, from attack to injury. By cultivating their inner calm, they can ward off mental, physical, and emotional stress. It's not only the Shaolin monks who have demonstrated incredible sensory control. Researchers took a different group of monks along with people who did never meditate and secured a thermal simulator to their wrist, a device designed to induce pain through intense heat. The plate warms slowly, then stays at maximum heat for 10 seconds before cooling. During the experiment, as soon as the plate began to hear, the pain matrix in the non-monk's brains started firing like crazy, as if the plate were already at maximum heat. Researchers call this anticipatory anxiety, and the monks showed more of it. Instead, as the plate heated, their brain activity remained pretty much the same. When the plate reached full heat, activity in the monk's brains spiked, but only in areas that registered the physical sensations of pain. You see, for most of us, pain is a twofold sensation. We feel some of it physically and some of it emotionally. For the monks, the heat was painful, but they didn't assign negative feelings to the experience. They felt no emotional pain. Their brains also recovered from the physical pain faster than the non-meditators. This is a remarkable level of sensory control, more than most of us are committed to developing. But do think about your senses as passed through the minds. Most of our lives are governed by what we see, hear, smell, touch, and taste. If you smell your favorite dessert, you want to eat it. If you see photo of a beach, you start daydreaming about vacation. You hear a certain phrase and flash to the person who used to say it all the time. The monkey mind is reactive, but the monk mind is proactive. Let's say that whenever you go on YouTube to watch one video, you end up going down a rabbit hole. You drift from a cute animal video to a shark attack compilation, and before you know it, you are watching scene events, eating hot sauce with a celebrity guest. Senses recklessly transport our minds away from where we want them to be. Don't tease your own senses. Don't set yourself up to fail. A monk doesn't spend time in a strip club. We want to minimize the mind's reactive tendencies, and the easiest way to do that is for the intellect to proactively steer the senses away from stimulate. Potato could make the mind react in ways that are hard to control. It's up to the intellect, when you are vulnerable, and to tighten the reins, just as a chariot does when going through a field of tasty grass. Any sensory input can trigger emotions, a tempting or upsetting or sad reminder that lures those wild horses of the chariot's chosen path. Social media might suck away time you wanted to spend otherwise. A photo might remind you of a lost friend in a moment when you don't have to time for grief. An sweet shirt might re-break your heart within reason. I recommend removing unwanted sensory triggers from your home or deleting the apps. As you do, visualize yourself removing them from your mind. You can do the same thing when you hit an unwanted mental trigger, a word that you used to hear from a parent, a song from your past. Visualize yourself removing that from your life as you would a physical object. When you remove mental and physical triggers, you can stop giving into them. Needless to say, we can never remove all senses and all triggers, nor would we want to. Our goal is not to silence the mind or even to still it. We want to figure out the meaning of a thought. That's what helps us let go. But temporarily, while we are strengthening our relationship with our minds, we can take steps to avoid triggering places and people by adjusting what we see, listen to, read, absorb. over. From a monk's perspective, the greatest power is self-control, to train the mind and energy to focus on your dharma. Ideally, you can navigate anything that seems tough, challenging, or fun with the same balance and equanimity, without being too excited in pleasure or too depressed by pain. Ordinarily, our brains turn down the volume or repeated input, but when we train our minds, we build the ability to focus on what we want regardless of distractions. Meditation is an important tool that allows us to regulate the sensory input, but we can also train the mind by building the relationship between the child and the adult mind. When a parent says, clean your room, and the child doesn't, that's like your monk's mind is saying, change your course, and the monkey mind saying, no thanks, I did rather listen to loud music on my headphones. If the parent gets angry at the child and says, I told you to clean your room, why haven't you done it yet? The child retreats further. Eventually, the child may follow orders, but the exchange hasn't built a connection or a dialogue. The more frustrated parent and petulant child do battle, the more alienated from each other they feel. When you are fighting the internal battle, your monkey mind is an adversary. View it as a collaborator, and you can move from battle to bond, from rejected enemy to trusted friend. A bond has its own challenges. There can still be disagreement, but at least all parties want the same outcome. In order to reach such a collaboration, our intellect must pay closer attention to the automatic reactive patterns of the mind, otherwise known as the subconscious. द स्टबन सबकॉन्शियस, ये पढ़ेंगे हम नेक्स्ट वीडियो में. बाय फॉर नाउ फ्रेंड्स.